Beloved child, I want you to recognize a very quiet sign that your soul has begun to perceive, even before your mind can name it. The breath within you is changing, not because every outward circumstance has become easier, nor because you have managed on your own to control everything that once made you afraid, but because I am enlarging the deepest place within you so that my life may enter. In the past, you lived like someone, always hearing a sound behind your back, always preparing for a new wound, always withdrawing before someone could hurt you. Your soul breathed in short breaths, not because you were weak, but because you had remained for too long in a posture of self-defense. But today, I am calling you out of that suffocating room, as in Genesis 2:7. When I breathed the breath of life into man's nostrils and he became a living soul, I am also breathing new life into the places within you that once closed because of fear. You do not need to force yourself to be at peace. My peace is being restored within you like a spring finding its hidden source. There are days when you suddenly find yourself breathing more deeply, more quietly, more steadily, and then you are surprised because you do not know what has changed. My child, that is when my hand is touching the old knots within your heart. I am loosening, layer by layer, the tension you once thought was simply your instinct for survival. I am slowing down the rhythm of panic within you, so that you no longer respond to the present as though it were still the past. My son spoke in John 14, Arshitsi, saying, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." And that peace is not like the fragile sense of calm the world tries to create. It does not depend on who stays, who understands you, who answers, who opens the door, or who acknowledges you. It is my throne being established in the midst of your heart. When I dwell there, even the rooms that were once filled with the echoes of fear begin to grow warm again, bright again, and safe enough for you to no longer have to brace yourself just to exist. Then you will see another miracle take place within your memory. The old images that once pierced your heart like sharp thorns will gradually lose their power to wound you. Not because I erase your history, nor because I tell you to pretend that nothing ever happened. I do not heal through denial, I heal through light. When my light enters a memory, it does not necessarily remove the event, but it removes that event's authority over your soul. You may still remember, but you will no longer be imprisoned in that moment. You may still look back, but you will no longer hear the old sentence pronounced over your identity. Psalm 147:3 declares that I heal the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds, which means I know how to touch even the wounds no one can see, even the pain that has lain for too long beneath layers of silence, even the places where you thought you could only learn to endure. I remove the poison of bitterness from your memory, but I preserve the pearl of wisdom. I remove the sharp point of shame from your past, but I preserve the maturity that was born through tears. Remember Elijah, the prophet who once stood on Mount Carmel and saw my fire fall, yet afterward fled in exhaustion, fear, and loneliness. He lay beneath the broom tree and asked to die, because even one who had once been strong can become so weary that he no longer recognizes himself. But I did not come to him with rebuke. I sent an angel to touch him, to give him bread and water, to let him sleep, and then to awaken him again with care. Later, in the cave at Horeb, I did not reveal myself first in the great wind, the earthquake, or the fire, but in a gentle, quiet whisper. As 1 Kings 19 recounts, "Do you see? I understand when your soul is too tired to bear any more noise. There are seasons when I heal you not through dazzling events, but through a presence that is very near, very tender, and perfectly timed. I come like warmth upon the forehead of one with a fever, like food for the exhausted, like a gentle voice drawing you out of the dark cave of your own soul. Therefore, do not regard the small moments lately as random. A ray of sunlight falling into the room just when your heart grows heavy. A casual word touching the very place within you that needs to be lifted. A quiet morning that makes your heart feel less burdened. For a minute, when you pause in the middle of the day without understanding why you long for stillness. I can use all these things as the language of love. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. Psalm 18 does not say that I come only in the temple or during solemn hours of prayer. I come also in the breath, in the light, in the silence, in the very ordinary movements that you almost overlook. This time, you are not passing through the season of restoration by gritting your teeth and enduring. You are passing through it by being led. I place small signs along the way, not so that you may become superstitious, but so that you may remember that your Father is very nearer than your worry, nearer than your memory, nearer even than your sigh. And, my child, I want you to rest in a truth that has the power to dissolve every fear. You do not need to run in order to be held by me. You do not need to prove that you are strong in order to be safe in me. You do not need to always be right. Always be okay. Always be clear-minded. Always be courageous in order to be loved. Romans 8:39 declares that nothing can separate you from the love of God in Christ. And that word stands firm, even on the days when you feel weak, weary, confused, slow, or unable to fully understand what I am doing. My love is not a reward placed at the end of the road for those who never stumble. My love is the embrace that lifts you in the middle of the journey, while your knees are still trembling and your eyes are still wet. You can be honest before me without fearing judgment. You can admit that you are hurting without fearing that you will be seen as lacking faith. You can sit quietly in my arms without needing to defend your exhaustion. What has left you in this season is not a sign that you have been rejected. It is the space I have opened so that you may feel my embrace more clearly. When the old noise grows quiet, you can hear the rhythm of peace. When the old bonds loosen, you can feel the warmth of the Father's arms. When the old memories lose their poison, you begin to see yourself with more merciful eyes. I am restoring you not only so that you may continue to live, but so that you may live tenderly, deeply, freely, and full of light. Remain in me as the branch remains in the vine. For John 15:5 declares that apart from me you can do nothing, but in me you will bear fruit in its proper season. From now on, let every deep breath become a silent prayer. You are being held. Let every memory that hurts less become a witness that I am healing. Let every unexpected moment of peace become a sign that I am near. And each day you wake, even if your heart is still fragile, remember that I am still here, unchanged in heart, never weary, never far away, holding you completely in my everlasting love. Beloved child, when I open the eyes within you, you will no longer walk through your life as someone who sees only the surface of everything. You will begin to realize that there were places that once seemed stable, yet your soul could not breathe there. There were doors that once had lights shining outside, yet within them there was no peace that I had appointed. There were connections that once made you think you were being held, yet in truth, they were quietly pulling you away from my true calling. I do not cause you to leave those places because I am harsh with you, nor do I close certain paths because I want you to suffer. I do so because I am the one who sees the end of the road from the very beginning. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your soul in drought. As Isaiah 58:11 has declared, and that word is alive in this season. I do not guide you only through great signs. I also guide you through holy unrest, through the feeling that something no longer fits, through a silence within your heart that says, This place is no longer where you are meant to be nourished and grown. Therefore, do not see every disturbance as disorder. There are things that begin to shake, not to destroy, but to separate light from darkness in your life. When your spiritual eyes begin to grow brighter, you will understand why I did not allow certain things to continue walking with you. Even though your heart was still attached to them, you will understand why some people can no longer touch the depth of you as they once did. Why some invitations no longer stir your heart with excitement. Why some paths that once seemed attractive now grow dim. For God is not a God of confusion, but of peace. As 1 Corinthians 14:33 reminds you, and what I am doing has order, even if at first you cannot read that order. I am teaching you discernment, not only through your reasoning, but through the peace that the Holy Spirit places in the deepest, most hidden place of your heart. You will no longer ask only, is this beautiful? Is this familiar? Is this convenient? You will begin to ask, does this draw me nearer to me? Does this keep my soul in the light? Does this help me become true to the being I created you to be? There are times when I reshape you so deeply that the old cage of your thinking can no longer contain you. This may confuse you, because you had grown used to living within those limits, as though they were a small room you knew well. But my child, I did not save you so that you could decorate your cage more beautifully. I saved you so that you could step out of it. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. As 2 Coríntios 3:17 declares. And that freedom is not only freedom from sin, but also freedom from false conclusions about yourself. Freedom from seeing yourself as less than what my word has spoken. Freedom from calling fear wisdom. When your eyes open, you will see a truth that is gentle yet powerful. What you thought you had lost was sometimes not a treasure, but a detour that could have led you away from the destiny I am preserving. I do not take away your good memories. I only close the doors that no longer lead to life. Remember Elisha's servant at Dothan. When the enemy army surrounded the city, the servant's eyes saw only the horses, chariots, and soldiers of the enemy. So his heart was overcome with fear. But Elisha prayed, "O Lord, please open his eyes, that he may see." And 2 Kings 6:17 records that the servant saw the mountain full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Do you see? The outward circumstance did not immediately change, but the opening of his inner eyes changed the way he stood within that circumstance. Before, he saw only that he was surrounded. Afterward, he saw that he was protected. In the same way, I am opening your eyes not merely so that you may know more spiritual things, but so that you may stop trembling before what natural sight magnifies. When you see that I am covering you, you will no longer call every closing a failure. When you see the army of grace surrounding you, you will no longer believe you are alone in this season of redirection. Then you will begin to recognize me in the small details you once overlooked. A morning when you wake earlier than usual, before your heart has had time to grow noisy, may be the moment I am drawing you into stillness so you can hear my voice more clearly. A sentence that seems accidental, yet touches exactly the place you have been asking me about, may be my way of confirming that I know what you have not yet spoken aloud. A gentle breeze moving across your chest in the middle of a long day, causing you to pause and breathe deeply, may be a reminder that my life is still at work within you. Your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, "This is the way, walk in it." As Isaiah 30:21 is declared, I do not speak only through thunder, I also speak through the rhythm of breath, through light falling across the floor, through the unexpected softening after pain, through the moment when you think you are merely being silent, yet in truth your soul is being realigned by me. Beloved child, the things you call emotions are sometimes signals of the Holy Spirit gently touching the deep places within you. Not every emotion is guidance. But when you abide in me, I can use peace, heaviness of heart, a holy prompting, or a very clear stillness to help you discern what comes from the light. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. As Colossians 3:15 declares, which means, my peace is appointed as the judge within your soul. When your spiritual eyes open, you will become less driven by the outward appearance of an opportunity, less inclined to cling to things that are beautiful only in memory, but no longer healthy for the present, less afraid of closed doors because you know the Father's hand is upon the hinge. You will learn to recognize this. Not everything you want is what you need, and not everything that leaves you is something you have lost. I was never far from you in the seasons when you could not see me. There were days when your eyes were blurred with tears, so you thought I was standing outside your story, but I was present in every detail, holding up every part of you that you thought would collapse. There were times when you wondered why your heart no longer had peace with something that once felt familiar, and that was me drawing you out of a shadowed place. There were times when you thought an interruption was merely accidental, but in truth I was stopping a current that could have carried you off course. All things work together for good for those who love God. As Romans 8:28 declares, does not mean that all things are pleasant. It means that in my hands, even endings, silence, redirection, and waiting can become materials of grace. So let your eyes be made bright in me, not through suspicion toward everything, but through holy sensitivity. I do not want you to live in fear, always searching for signs in every shadow. I want you to live so near to me that you know when my peace is opening the way, when my wisdom is holding you back, when my love is healing you, and when the Holy Spirit is calling you to step out of what has become too narrow. You will see me not only in miracles that shake the mountains, but in every small fragment of light throughout your day. And when you look back, you will understand that I was never absent. It is only that now, your eyes are bright enough to see that my hand has always been there, leading you, keeping you, separating you from what no longer belongs to the light, and bringing you step by step into the path that is right in time, right in season, and right in the love I prepared for you long ago. Beloved child, quiet your heart before the voice that is very delicate, yet very real, echoing within you in these days. It is not loud like the voice of people urging you forward, not heavy like obligation, and not cold and sharp like fear. It is like a small stream flowing beneath dry ground. At first, you hear it only faintly, but the more still you become, the more you recognize that it is leading you into a deeper place. After the old burdens have been lifted off, after the attachments that once tilted your heart out of alignment have been removed, after the small patterns that once bound your vision no longer hold you tightly, a sacred space opens within you, and it is in that sacred space that I speak more clearly. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. As John 10:27 declares, therefore, do not regard the gentle stirring in your heart as meaningless. That is where your soul begins to recognize the voice of its Father after a long time of being covered by the noise of worry. When your spiritual eyes are made bright by me, you will not only see what has already appeared before you, but you will also sense the traces of what is coming. A new season often does not enter with a loud trumpet. Many times, it comes first like a very small current of peace, like a thin ray of light falling through the doorway while the sky is still gray. Outwardly, things may not have changed yet, but inwardly, you have already begun to change. Circumstances may still be standing still, but your heart is no longer bound in the same way. For we walk by faith, not by sight. As 2 Corinthians 5:7 reminds you, because spiritual sight does not deny reality, but looks through reality to touch my truth. Reality may say that no way has opened yet, but my truth declares that I am the one who makes a way through the sea. Reality may show you gray clouds, but my truth has already placed dawn within the promise. Therefore, do not underestimate the quiet signals. An opportunity comes gently, yet your heart lights up. An invitation may not seem great, yet it carries deep peace. A new thought appears within you, not pressuring you, not frightening you, but quietly remaining like a small lamp. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119:105 does not promise that you will see the entire road in one moment. It promises that I will give you enough light for the next step. Sometimes you only need to take one step in peace, and the next step will become bright. Sometimes I do not give you a long map, because I want you to learn to hold my hand more closely. True guidance does not always make you understand everything, but it always draws you closer to me, and the closer you are to me, the less you will be deceived by paths that shine on the outside but are dark within. I want you to remember old Simeon in the temple, the man who waited for the consolation of Israel with spiritual eyes preserved by the Holy Spirit. When Mary and Joseph brought the child Jesus into the temple, many people may have seen only an ordinary baby in the arms of a poor family. But Simeon saw my salvation. Luke 2:30-32 records his words, that his eyes had seen salvation, a light for revelation to the Gentiles and the glory of Israel. Do you see? Spiritual eyes can recognize a season of redemption even when that season is still held in a very small form. They see the great tree and the seed, the promise in the cradle, the dawn while the air is still cold. I am teaching you to see in the same way. Do not wait until everything has fully bloomed before you believe I am at work. Recognize the sprout of life while it is still tender, still small, and still needing to be sheltered by faith. When you look through my light, you will also look back upon yourself differently. You will no longer call yourself by the names the past once placed upon you, the one left behind, the one delayed, the one difficult to love, the one who must always try harder in order to be worthy. Those names did not come from me. I call you beloved child, redeemed one, good soil, vessel of light, the one I am rebuilding. See what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God. As 1 John 3:1 declares, that identity does not depend on the seasons when you were weak, the times you cried, the doors that closed, or the people who did not know how to recognize your worth. When you see me more clearly, you also see yourself more truly, because only in the light of the Creator does the soul recognize its original form. There is something very important I want to place deep within you. You are not lost outside my plan. You are not late. You have not been forgotten at the edge of the story. Even the paths you thought were only detours are not beyond my power to redeem. All things work together for good, for those who love God. Romans 8:28 does not mean that everything you go through is easy to understand or pleasant to endure, but it means that, in my hands, not one tear is wasted. Not one season of waiting is meaningless. Not one departure lies beyond the transforming power of grace. You are closer to the center of my work than you think. The place where you stand today, though thin mist remains and unanswered questions have not yet dissolved, may still be the ground I have chosen to begin a deeper season of peace. Therefore, follow the voice that is drawing you deeper. Do not demand that it shout loudly before you believe it is me. Do not wait for everyone to confirm it before you believe that your heart is being led. My voice is often as gentle as breath, yet its power can redirect an entire life. It does not push you with fear, it draws you with love. It does not make you frantic, it makes you awake. It does not force you to prove yourself, it invites you to remain. Hebrews 11:1 says that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So when you have not yet seen the fullness of the new season, but have already sensed peace, hold on to that peace. When you do not yet understand everything but feel your heart being drawn toward the light, walk slowly and steadily. I am leading you not only toward better circumstances, but toward a deeper knowledge of me. From now on, let every small ray of hope become a sign that you are no longer in the old night. Let every opportunity that comes with peace become a reminder that I know how to open doors at the right time. Each time you hear the gentle calling within your heart, remember that I am bringing you back to the very place you were created to stand. You no longer have to live by natural sight, limited by fear. You are invited to live by spiritual eyes that I have illuminated. And as you continue to walk, you will realize this: the new season is not only ahead of you, it has already begun within you. The light is not only leading the way, it is dwelling in your heart. I am not only holding your hand as you pass through, I am teaching you to see, to hear, to trust, and to remain in my enduring light. Beloved child, there is a light quietly growing within you. Not the kind of light that forces you to squint because it is blinding, but the gentle light of my presence shining into the hidden rooms you once locked away in order to protect yourself. You will begin to see yourself no longer through the eyes of fear, nor through the voice of judgment the past left behind, but through an understanding that is softer, purer, and nearer to my heart. Psalm 36, 9 declares, in your light we see light. And that is exactly what is happening within you. When my light shines in, you no longer see only the cracks. You see the places where grace is mending. You no longer see only old reactions. You recognize that they were once the cry of a soul needing to be held. You no longer call your fragility weakness. You begin to understand that those tender places are where I am nurturing new life. Like young shoots that need sunlight, clean water, and time to grow strong in peace. I do not bring light into you to make you ashamed. I bring light in so that darkness no longer has a place to hide. There were things you once tried to drive out by your own strength. And the more you fought, the more exhausted you became, the more you resisted, the more painful it grew. Because you thought healing meant battling every fragment of memory one by one. But when I step in, darkness does not need to be persuaded to leave. It retreats on its own before the presence of the one who is life. As 2 Coríntios 4:6 declares, God, who commanded light to shine out of darkness, has also shone in your heart. I am causing the deep layers within you to be seen, named, washed clean, and set back into the order of grace. You will realize that certain reactions which once flared up quickly from fear no longer take hold of you as they did before. Not because you have become someone else through strained effort, but because I have touched the root from which those reactions were born. When the root is healed, the branches no longer have to force themselves to bloom. Life will rise on its own. Remember the blind man at Bethsaida in Mark 8. People brought him to Jesus and begged him to touch him. But he did not heal him in the middle of the crowd in the way people expected. He took the man by the hand, led him out of the village, and then touched his eyes. When asked what he saw, the man said he saw people like trees walking around. He could see, but not yet clearly. Then Jesus placed his hands on the man's eyes again, and he looked intently, was restored, and saw everything clearly. Do you see? There are healings that unfold layer by layer, not because my power is lacking, but because your heart needs to be led gently. I do not despise the stage when you can only see dimly. I do not rebuke you when clarity comes little by little. I take you by the hand and lead you out of the noise. Touch you, and continue to touch you until what is blurred becomes bright. What is distorted is corrected, and what you once saw through pain is seen again in truth. In the same way, your faith is being rekindled by me in a very deep way. It does not necessarily return with a loud shout of joy, nor does it necessarily make you immediately rise and do extraordinary things before others. Sometimes faith returns only through a gentle breath in the night, through very small prayer. Lord, I am still here. Sometimes it is like the words of the Father in Mark 9:24. I believe, help my unbelief. I do not see that prayer as weakness. I see it as a door open to grace. You do not need to bring me perfect faith before you can be upheld. You only need to turn your face toward me. Even if your eyes are still wet, even if your heart is still trembling, even if the answers are not yet complete. Each time you choose to believe my voice, more than the voice of fear, another region of light spreads within you. Each time you choose to remain in the promise, instead of returning to the old conclusions of pain, the ember within you is breathed upon again by my breath. Then you will notice that the life within you is no longer a passing excitement, but a steady, quiet, pure current. Outwardly, there may not yet be many great signs, but inwardly, you will become less tense, less darkened, less compelled to defend yourself against every small thing. Your mind will become clearer because it is no longer being dragged endlessly by the old cycles of thought. Your heart will become softer because it no longer has to wear armor all day. Your breath will become deeper because your soul is beginning to believe that it has not been left behind in a dangerous place. Jeremiah 17:7-8 speaks of the one who trusts in the Lord as a tree planted by the waters, sending out its roots by the stream, not fearing when heat comes, its leaves remaining green. My child, that is the image I am rebuilding within you. I am not only watering the leaves on the outside, I am bringing water down to the roots. And when the roots drink from my life, the branches that seem dry will one day bud again. Therefore, do not quickly doubt the gentle movements taking place within your heart. When you suddenly find yourself wanting to open your heart to something that once frightened you, it may be a sign that an inner door has had its hinges repaired by me. When you hear an old memory pass by and it no longer pulls you down as it once did, that is a sign that I have removed the poison from the wound. When you look at a tender part of yourself and no longer hate it, that is a sign that your eyes are learning to see with mine. Isaiah 42:16 declares that I will lead the blind by a way they have not known, turn the darkness before them into light, and make the rough places smooth. I am doing this not only on the outward road before you, but also within the hidden pathways of your soul. I am leading you through old corridors, opening windows, lighting lamps, and showing you that there is no part of you too far away for me to restore. Remain in that life. Beloved child, do not force yourself to bloom before your roots have drunk enough water. Do not judge yourself because there are days when the light within you is only like a small ray. One true ray of light still has the power to tear through the night. One small faith placed in me can still open the way for a miracle. Abide in me, and I in you. As John Kintz, 4 declares, because the branch does not create its own sap of life, the branch only needs to remain in the vine. You are the same. Your deepest restoration does not come from exhausting yourself by trying to fix yourself, but from remaining in me long enough for my life to become the rhythm of your life. I am causing you to see more clearly, to believe more deeply, to live more tenderly, and to breathe more freely. And what is being revived within you will not be a copy of the old version of yourself. It will be you in my light. You in truth. You in peace. You rebuilt from the roots, so that you may bear fruit in the season I have appointed. My beloved child, be still in this moment, not because I want you to be afraid, but because I want you to recognize that there are words that can only be heard when the soul stops running away. There are callings that do not come through outward sound, do not echo through the streets, do not tremble on another person's lips, but touch the deepest place within you like light slipping through a door that has been closed for a long time. I am calling you in that way, not with wrath, but with mercy, not with condemnation, but with the love that sought you before you knew how to seek me. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him. As Revelation 3:20 declares, do you see? I do not break down the door of your soul. I knock. I wait. I am patient. But that patience does not mean you should delay forever, because there are seasons when the door remains open for you to enter. And there are moments given so that your soul may awaken before the night grows thicker. I know you have passed through days when everything seemed accidental, a word you heard at the right moment, a dream that left you unsettled, a burden that kept returning in your heart, a silence that no longer allowed you to hide from yourself. But my child, in my hands, even the smallest thing can become a sign. No tear falls outside my sight. No sigh is lost from my heart. No weary step goes unseen by me. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. As Isaiah 55:6 reminds you, not to make you panic, but to help you understand that grace is a living gift, meant to be embraced while it is before you. I do not call you to myself because you are already perfectly ready. I call you because I know that only in me can you be renewed from the very roots. Remember Rahab in the city of Jericho, a woman living within a city that was about to fall, yet whose heart recognized the power of God before the walls came down. She did not have a spotless past in the eyes of men, no reputation with which to defend herself, no merit to use as a bargain before heaven. But she believed, and in that faith, she tied the scarlet cord in her window as a sign of surrender and hope. When the trumpet sounded, when the fortress shook, when the proud walls collapsed, her house was preserved. Beloved child, that story does not speak only of an ancient city, but of every soul that knows how to take hold of grace before the hour of judgment. That scarlet cord is like a shadow of the redeeming blood, reminding you that I can draw a life out of ruin, preserve a family amid chaos, and turn a despised past into a testimony of mercy. Therefore, do not hear my call as a threat. Hear it as the voice of the Father searching for you in the late afternoon. I do not want you to step toward me with a trembling heart because you think I am waiting to punish you. I want you to return because you know I am home. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts, as Hebrews 3:15 declares. Because hardness of heart is not always great rebellion. Sometimes it is only a small delay repeated again and again, telling yourself that tomorrow you will return. Tomorrow you will pray. Tomorrow you will release what is pulling you away from me. But my child, tomorrow is not in your hands. The breath of this present moment is the altar I have placed before your soul. Right now, in this stillness, I am opening a way for you to step out of the darkness without having to carry the old chains with you. I have seen the times when you were so weary that you could no longer distinguish between my voice and the voice of fear. I have seen when you tried to appear strong while inside you only wanted to be held. I have seen the dry places within your heart, where hope once began to grow but was withered by the scorching heat of disappointment. But I speak to you and say that the light has not departed from you. The lamp I lit within your soul has not gone out. It is only waiting for the breath of the Holy Spirit to make it burn brightly once again. Behold, now is the favorable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. As 2 Corinthians 6:2 proclaims, not some other day, not when you have repaired yourself well enough, not when you have become more worthy, but now, while you can still hear, while your heart is still tender, while you can still say, Father, please draw me near to you. And when you open your heart, you will realize that this calling has not come to take life away from you, but to return true life to you. The things you are gripping tightly out of fear of loss may be the very things keeping your hands from being open enough to receive peace. The old paths you have grown used to walking may have become circles that leave you exhausted. The voices that once made you question your worth no longer have the right to define you. I am the one who called light out of darkness, who made the sea open a way, who caused dry bones to stand, who brought Rahab out of the collapsing city. And I can also bring you out of the place where you thought you would be trapped forever. Come near to me, without ornate words. Only a truthful heart is needed, only a small but sincere response. For before you called me, I had already turned my gaze toward you. Before you turned back, my heart was already full of mercy. Before you took one step, my grace had already laid a road beneath your feet. Beloved child, I do not want you to lose this holy moment because of ordinary busyness or the noise of the world. There is a very gentle solemnity settling over your soul. Like dawn standing at the edge of the horizon, let it awaken you. Let it wash you clean. Let it bring you back to the life I appointed for you from the beginning. When everything around you shifts, I remain the one who does not change. When human time passes like mist, my word still stands firm. And when you think you are standing at the very edge of loss, I can turn that very place into the threshold of restoration. Receive my word today. My child, open the door. Return. Step into the light while the light is calling your name with love that never grows weary. My beloved child, before you look at the places within yourself that seem to have gone out, look at the one who has never taken his eyes off you. I saw you in the nights no one knew about, in the moments when you were so silent that even you thought your heart had grown cold, in the times when you wanted to pray, but all that remained was a sigh as heavy as stone in your chest. You thought that silence could not reach heaven, but the Lord is near to the brokenhearted. As Psalm Kol Mekumendanelia 18 reminds you, and I do not hear only clear words. I also hear the words that have not yet become sound. I was near when you bowed your head in the darkness, when you tried to smile to hide a deeper exhaustion, when you buried old dreams beneath the soil of disappointment and told yourself you would no longer hope. But my child, what you buried because of pain, I can still call back to life by the power of restoration. What you thought had died within your heart, if placed into my hands, can still become a seed. From the beginning, I did not create you as a nameless object drifting through the current of life. When I called light to come forth out of nothingness, when I stretched out the heavens like a curtain, when I placed the sun to govern the day and the moon to give gentle light by night, I also thought of you with a holy intention. God created mankind in his own image, as Genesis 1:27 reveals, which means that within you there is a trace of heaven, the breath of life, the ability to reflect something purer, kinder, and more radiant than anything the world has ever placed upon you. You were not created merely to exist, to work, to endure, and then quietly disappear. You were created to carry light, but through many seasons, cold words, failures, pressures, and nameless fears have settled over your soul like dust upon a lamp. They cannot destroy the light I placed within you. but they can make you forget that you are still shining. The world has taught you many sharp lessons, but without mercy. It told you to become hard so you would not be wounded, but it did not show you that tenderness in me is not weakness. It told you to prove your worth through achievement, but it did not teach you to rest in the love that existed before anything you ever did. It told you to hold tightly, compete quickly, and defend yourself deeply. But it did not tell you that the one who knows how to entrust himself to me does not lose strength, but is placed within a power more enduring than his own. And so you learn to live like a sealed vessel, outwardly still intact, still walking, still answering, still completing what had to be done. Yet inwardly the flame was covered. But beloved child, a lamp is not lit to be put under a basket. As Matthew 5:15 declares, "And I will not allow the light within you to remain buried forever beneath the layers of fear gathered through the years." Remember Gideon, who once threshed wheat in a hidden place to escape the enemy, his heart full of anxiety and his view of himself small. When my angel came to him, he did not call him by the name of his fear, but called him a mighty man of valor in Judges 6:12, because I saw in him what he could not yet see in himself. Afterward, I did not give him victory through a vast army, but through earthen jars, torches hidden inside, and the sound of trumpets in the night. When the jars were broken, the light burst forth, and the enemy panicked before what I did through people who seemed weak. Do you see? Sometimes the very cracks in your life are not signs that I have abandoned you, but the places where my light is about to be revealed. I do not despise your earthen vessel. We have this treasure in jars of clay. As 2 Corinthians 4:7 says, so that the surpassing power may belong to me and not to your own strength. Therefore, do not be ashamed that you have grown weary. Do not condemn yourself because there are days when you are no longer as strong as others imagine you to be. I do not come to you today to interrogate you about why you once became weak in heart, why you once doubted, or why you once cried out in complaint through your pain. I know that wounds often speak with trembling words. I know that one who is deeply wounded sometimes does not need an explanation, but a love patient enough to sit beside them. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not quench. As Isaiah 42:3 lifts you up through my gentleness, I do not extinguish the light still flickering within you. I bend down to shield it from the cold wind. Breathe life into it, and teach it to burn again, not through exhausting effort, but through my presence. There are things you have never told anyone, yet I have recorded them with mercy. You have kept count of my wanderings, put my tears in your bottle. As Psalm 56:8 shows you that not one drop of pain is considered trivial before me. The losses you quietly carried, the unfinished prayers, the times you looked up at the sky and did not know how to call upon me, all of them have entered the place where I keep what belongs to you. And though there were times when you thought I was silent, my silence was not absence. There are seasons when I do not answer with thunder, because I am answering by keeping you from falling apart. There are times when I do not explain immediately because I am allowing love to soften the place your reason cannot yet understand. Now, beloved child, I am drawing near to rekindle what I placed within you from the beginning, not so that you may become radiant according to the world's standard, but so that you may become clear and pure according to my light. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. As John 1:5 proclaims, declaring that darkness may surround, but it cannot swallow what belongs to me. When the light within you comes alive again, it will not only illuminate the path for you alone, it will warm those who are cold. It will open the eyes of those who are lost. It will become a quiet testimony that a weary soul can still be restored. A heart once closed can learn to love again. And a life once covered over can still reflect heaven. I still choose you, not because you have never stumbled, not because you have always understood my ways, not because you have been perfect in every step, but because my love did not begin with your worthiness. I called you by name before you knew who you were in me. I placed a part of my plan within your soul before the world had time to make you question your value. So lift up your head, but do not rush. Open your heart, but do not be afraid. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. As Philippians 1:6 reminds you, in every unfinished season, let me remove each layer of covering, heal each wounded place, and rekindle every ray of light. You no longer have to light yourself with exhausted strength. Come near to me, and I will cause the lamp within you to burn again with a fire that does not belong to the earth, but to heaven. My beloved child, do not think that the chaos pressing in around you is a sign that I have moved away. There are seasons when I allow the ground beneath your feet to shake, not so that you will fall, but so that what no longer belongs to your new life may be revealed and leave you. You have asked me why so many things have risen up within such a short time. Why old pains, old attachments, and memories you thought had fallen asleep have come one by one to knock on the door of your soul. I tell you that this is not punishment, it is the hour of purification. When gold is brought into the fire does not hate the gold. The fire only separates from the gold the impurities that do not belong to it. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. As Malachi 3:3 reminds you, because my hand is not hurried, but precise, not cruel, but holy. I touch what you have avoided, not to reopen the wound and make you hurt more, but to remove from it the thorns that have quietly made you ache through many seasons. In the midst of a world loudly calling everything by reversed names, I want you to learn to hear the true voice again. There are people who think they are free because they no longer bow before anything. Yet their souls are bound by insecurity, by the craving to be seen, to be honored, to be at the center. There are people who clothe themselves in false light, yet inwardly fear the nearness of truth. The world may call darkness by beautiful names, may turn the self into a throne, may make pride look like strength, but my child must not live by the applause of the crowd. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. As Isaiah 5:20 warns, not so that you may despise the world, but so that you may stay awake amid sounds that confuse your mind. I do not call you to run faster than others. I call you to stop long enough to recognize this. The most precious thing is not to be acknowledged by the world, but to abide in me with a heart that is not false. Remember Elias, who once stood on Mount Carmel and witnessed fire from heaven answer, yet afterward hid in a cave because he was weary, lonely, and afraid. He thought everything was over, thought he was the only one left among a people who had lost their way. But I did not meet him in the strong wind that tore the mountains, nor did I speak to him in the earthquake, nor did I place my voice in the fierce fire. After all of that, there came a gentle, quiet whisper, and in that stillness, Elijah recognized me. Do you see? Sometimes I allow the noise to pass before you so that you may learn to distinguish between the shaking of circumstances and the voice of the Father calling. I do not need to shout to prove that I am present. I can whisper and still bring your soul back to life. Therefore, when there is wind around you, when there is fire, when the ground shakes, do not look only at the disturbance. Shelter your heart in stillness, because I often place new direction in the deepest place of peace. Beloved child, the hour of awakening is not an hour for you to panic, gathering every fear and calling it faith. I do not want you to return to me like a trembling slave before a whip of punishment. I want you to return like a child who remembers where home is. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. As 1 John 4:18 tells you, because holy reverence is not the same as terror. To fear me is to recognize that I am so great your soul lays down its pride, and so merciful that your heart dares to melt in the truth. Your prayer will be renewed in the same way. It will no longer be merely a list of things you want me to do, but a place where you allow my will to soak into your will, where your breath becomes one with the rhythm of heaven, where you no longer pray only because you lack something, but because you love my presence. There are vessels within you that have grown old because they once carried too much fear, too many unhealed memories, too many ways of protecting yourself that you learned from pain. I do not pour new wine into what has not yet been softened again, not because I am withholding grace, but because I love you enough to prepare you for what I give. Jesus once said that new wine must be put into new wineskins, as Luke 5:38 reminds you, because new life needs a renewed heart. Therefore, when I show you a relationship whose season has ended, a fear that needs to be named, or a habit that quietly pulls you away from the light, do not turn your face away. What you release is not always a loss. Many times, it is liberation. What you allow me to heal does not always remain painful forever. Many times, it becomes a door into a peace deeper than you have ever known. I am seeking true souls in the midst of a generation exhausted from playing roles. I am not drawn to an outward garment of righteousness if the heart inside remains far away. I am not looking for those who call themselves strong but refuse to let me touch the tender places. I do not need loud voices that know how to speak about me but do not know how to remain with me. To obey is better than sacrifice. As 1 Samuel 15:22 reminds you, because what pleases me is not the appearance of spirituality, but a heart that knows how to listen. You no longer need to be king over your own life. You are allowed to be a child. You are allowed not to know everything. You are allowed to let me lead. You are allowed to be tender without fearing that you will be crushed, because the hand that holds you is not the hand of a stranger, but the hand of the Father. Therefore, when everything around you seems to be rearranged, understand that I am bringing you out of a life of mere survival and into a life that belongs to me. The faith I want to build within you is not a dry concept, but breath. You will no longer have to strain to hold on to faith like holding a candle in a storm, because I, myself, will become the shelter for that flame. You will no longer measure your worth by what is gained or lost, because you know you are in the hands of the one who does not drop you. You will no longer chase after crowns that quickly fade, because you have tasted the joy of abiding in me. Abide in me, and I in you. As John 15:4 echoes like the gentlest invitation. Remain, beloved child. Let me cleanse, soften, renew, and lead you through this shaking. After the deep night, dawn does not ask darkness for permission to rise. The light simply comes, and the darkness must retreat. My beloved child, let your heart slow down in this moment, like a lake becoming still after a long wind. Do not rush after the noises outside, and do not be quick to judge what is trembling within you. Lift your eyes toward the sky above and remember that the one who hung the clouds in place with wisdom is still keeping you with faithfulness. The sky does not need to speak every day to prove that it is still there. Its presence itself is the reminder that what I created by my word still stands according to my will. Your heart is the same. It is still beating, not because you are strong enough to hold yourself together, but because my breath still carries you through every moment. The breath of the Almighty gives me life. As Job 33:4 declares, and if you are still breathing, it means I have not yet finished writing the story of grace over your life. Therefore, do not be afraid when you hear a solemn call within your soul. It is not the sound of fate slamming shut, but the sound of mercy opening a door. Some people hear awakening as a threat, but you must hear it as the Father's voice calling you back from a long sleep. I do not call you in order to push you into a pit of regret, but to draw you out of the place where you have endured the darkness for too long. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. As Lamentations 3:22-23 reminds you, because grace does not grow old simply because you have grown weary, and my heart does not turn cold simply because you once walked slowly. What you thought was the ending can become a threshold in my hands. What you thought was the final loss can become, in my light, the place where life begins to grow again. I see the tears you have tried to hide, the tears that did not fall with sound, but soaked into every thought within you. I know there were times when you wanted to be so strong that you no longer allowed yourself to cry, because you feared that if you began, you would not be able to stop. But my child, tears are not the failure of faith. Sometimes tears are the way the soul washes away the dust of fear, so it can see me more clearly. You have kept count of my wanderings. Put my tears in your bottle, as Psalm 56:8 tells you, means that your pain is not taken lightly by me. I do not stand far away to analyze your tears. I draw near to wipe them away. I wipe them not so that you must forget everything immediately, but so that the eyes of your soul may become bright again, so that you may recognize that peace is not when every wave has grown still, but when you know who is in the boat with you. Remember the 2 disciples on the road to Emmaus after Jesus had been crucified. They walked with heavy hearts, thinking that hope had been buried in a stone tomb, thinking that their story had ended in disappointment. But the risen one drew near and walked with them, even though their eyes did not yet recognize him. He did not rebuke them for being sorrowful, nor condemn them because their hearts were slow to understand, but opened the scriptures to them and rekindled within them the fire that had nearly gone out. Then, when he broke the bread, their eyes were opened, and they understood that the one they thought they had lost was still alive, still walking with them, still turning an evening of despair into the dawn of faith. Do you see? There are times when I walk beside you before you recognize me. There are times when I have explained through my presence, comforted through silence, and rekindled a fire within you before you knew to call it hope. Therefore, do not see peace as a reward that only comes after every problem has been solved. The peace I give is not as fragile as the calm the world offers. It does not depend on whether you can control tomorrow, nor does it disappear simply because today still carries unanswered questions. Jesus said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives." As John 14:27 declares. And that word remains an anchor for your soul amid every movement. True peace is knowing that you are held. True peace is being able to cry without despairing, to wait without falling apart, to walk through the night without forgetting that dawn belongs to me. When you are in me, circumstances no longer sit on the throne of your heart. My presence becomes the place where your soul rests. And beloved child, my love for you is not merely a soft feeling that passes for a moment. That love is the power that rebuilds what has fallen, the fire that warms the frozen place, the hand that lifts you when you can no longer lift yourself. That love does not violate your soul, does not break down the door of your heart with force, but patiently stands near, knocking with holy gentleness. Revelation 3:20 reminds you that I stand at the door and knock, so that if anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him. Do you see? I desire to be invited in through the willingness of love. If you open your heart even a little, my light still knows the way in. No darkness is strong enough to stop the light when you allow me to cross that threshold. Now, stretch out your weary hands, not to prove that you still have strength, but to receive what you cannot create for yourself. I do not require you to finish everything before drawing near to me. I do not demand that you dry every tear before you may enter my presence. Come as you are, with your real breath, your real heart, and the parts of you that are still truly trembling. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. As it Peter Fem 7 calls you to lay down the burden that was never meant for your shoulders. Today's call is not the end of your life, but an invitation to step into deeper life. Open your eyes in my light, and you will see that I have never left. Open your heart in my love, and you will understand that what is calling you is not an ending, but the beginning of a life illuminated, healed, and kept in heaven. My beloved child, be still in this hour, and do not be quick to call what is happening accidental. There are moments on earth that appear very ordinary, yet in the unseen realm, they are marked as a turning point of the soul. You are still breathing. Your heart is still beating. The day still passes like any other day. But I want you to understand that not every moment carries the same weight. There are hours when I draw nearer, knocking more softly, yet more deeply, not to terrify you, but to draw you out of the long sleep of habit. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. As Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds you, because time is not merely a meaningless current in my hands, time becomes the place where grace meets the soul. Therefore, when you feel something within your heart beginning to tremble, do not avoid it. It may be my voice calling you back to the place where you belong. I saw you in the days when you thought you were simply living normally. Yet in truth, your soul was growing weary because it had been far from the source of life for too long. You walked through the world with a face trying to remain calm, but I knew the empty places your smile could not cover. You answered that you were fine, but I heard the weariness hidden behind every breath. You continued doing what had to be done, continued carrying what others could not see, continued standing firm, while inside you only wanted a place where you could lay everything down. My child, I do not blame you for being tired. I do not despise you for being weak. Jesus said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." As Matthew 11:28 declares, and that word is not for souls who have already become perfect, but for children who have walked too long beneath the scorching heat of life and forgotten that they have a home in me. Perhaps you wonder why I am awakening you at this moment, why old things are rising to the surface again, why your heart has suddenly become more sensitive to sacred callings. I say to you, it is because I do not want the lamp within you to be dimmed by the cold wind of the world. I placed within you a light that does not come from achievement, does not come from praise, and does not come from the things you can control. That light comes from me, but endless races, unnamed fears, deeply buried wounds, and days when you lived only to get through have covered it with many layers of dust. Now I am gently breathing upon the part that still smolders. A smoldering wick he will not quench. As Isaiah 42:3 reveals my tenderness, I do not come to extinguish the fragile part within you. I come to protect it, rekindle it, and cause it to burn brightly by the breath of the Holy Spirit. Remember Hagar in the wilderness. When she thought she and her child had reached the end, she placed the child under a bush, sat at a distance, and wept because she thought she could no longer bear to watch the loss before her eyes. But that cry did not fall into emptiness. My angel called to her in the wilderness, and I opened her eyes so she could see a well of water nearby. Do you see? Many times, the source of life is not as far away as you think. It is only that pain has blurred the eyes of your soul. God heard the voice of the boy, as Genesis 21:17 recounts. And I also hear your voice, even when you do not know how to pray. There are wells I have placed beside you, but only in the hour of awakening do your eyes open to see them. Therefore, do not conclude that you have been forgotten simply because you are standing in a dry place. Sometimes the dry place itself is where I reveal that I am still the one who sees, the one who hears, and the one who opens a way. Beloved child, I call you not because you have no mistakes, but because my love is greater than the history of your weakness. I am not seeking a soul decorated with perfection. I am seeking a heart that still knows how to tremble before the truth. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise, as Psalm 51:17 reminds you, because honest tears are more precious than every outward appearance of righteousness. Each time you sincerely turn back, darkness loses the right to speak the final word over your life. Each time you bow your head, not from despair but because you long to be healed, heaven records a quiet victory. Every prayer that rises from a heart no longer pretending is like a small flame answering the great call of heaven. Do not be surprised if the trials you once endured are suddenly used by me in a way you have never understood before. Wounds are not wasted by me. The times you were misunderstood, the nights when you wondered whether you could endure any longer, the losses that made you think the future had closed, all of it, when placed in my hands, can become material for wisdom, mercy, and depth. All things work together for good for those who love God. As Romans 8:28 declares, does not mean that everything that happens is good, but that I have the power to bring good even out of the things that once wounded you. As gold is refined in the fire, your faith is also being cleansed from the things clinging to it that you once thought were strength. I do not allow the fire to destroy you. I only use it to separate from you what does not belong to the new life. Therefore, when I say that this hour is important, do not listen with the ears of fear. Listen with the heart of a child who knows that his father is still near. I am not pressuring you to run back in panic. I am inviting you to return in love. Return to me with all your heart. As Joel 2:12 resounds, not as a sentence of judgment, but as an open door. You do not need to bring me a perfectly repaired version of yourself. Bring me your real heart, your weary hands, your unsettled questions, your tears that have not yet dried. I can begin from there. I can always begin from a heart willing to open. My child, what I want you to see today is the foundation that never moves. My love for you remains whole and unchanged. The world changes its voice. Circumstances change their seasons. Human hearts change, but I do not change. When you thought you were only an ordinary person, swept along by the current of life, I was still calling you by the name of my choosing. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. As Isaiah 43:1 places upon your soul a seal that no one can erase. You belonged to me before you fully understood yourself. You were seen by me before you were acknowledged by the world. And in this very hour, as the call of heaven is touching the deepest hidden place within you, return, not to a dry religion, but to living love, not through outward appearance, but with a true soul. Let me restore what has grown weary, light again what has grown dim. Open your eyes to the well of water that is near. and lead you onward in the light that darkness cannot swallow. My beloved child, there are things I reveal that do not come to your soul like a gentle breeze at first, but like a ray of light cutting through a room that has been closed for too long. When that light shines in, your eyes may ache, your heart may tremble, and the part of you that has grown accustomed to darkness may want to turn away. But my child, do not mistake that sharp ache for punishment. It is awakening. My light does not come to make you collapse in shame, but to heal the way you see, the way you understand, the way you discern what belongs to life and what has been quietly taking life from you. You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. As John 8:32 declares, meaning that truth not only exposes the chains, but also unlocks them so your soul can step out. I know there are parts of you that only want to keep me in a pleasant, close, safe image, where you are comforted but do not have to change, where you hear tender words but do not need to release the old things. But I am not a small idea for you to place within the boundaries of your fear. I am a compassionate Father, but I am also the Holy One. I am a refuge, but I am also the refining fire. I embrace you in mercy, but true love will never let you sleep peacefully in a bed of lies. Therefore, when I draw you deeper, I am not calling you into a dry ritual, but into true life. I am not calling you merely to speak about me with your lips, but to love me with all your soul, all your mind, all your strength, and even the places that once feared being touched. Remember Saul on the road to Damascus. He thought he was serving God, thought he was defending what was right. But in truth, the eyes of his soul were covered by false confidence. Then light from heaven shone down, so powerful that he fell to the ground and was blind for a time. Do you see? There are times when I allow a person to lose the old way of seeing so that they may receive new eyes. Saul was not destroyed by that light. He was transformed through the obedience of Ananias. Something like scales fell from his eyes, and the one who had once opposed me became Paul, the one who carried the gospel to many nations. Lord, what do you want me to do? Is the question that opens a new life. You too, when I shine my light into you, do not only ask why it hurts, ask what I am freeing you from. The world around you will continue to change, and many voices will try to make what is crooked look straight, what is empty look full, and what is dark look like freedom. People may smile at one another with painted faces, yet inwardly fear the truth, fear silence, and fear facing their own souls. They will call instant gratification happiness, pride courage, and distance from me independence. But beloved child, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. As Romans 12:2 reminds you, because the one who belongs to me cannot allow the current of the world to shape them into its image. You are called to awaken, to discern, and to stand in the light, even when that light makes you different. In all these upheavals, hold fast to what does not change. I am still who I am. The one who was with Joseph in the darkness of prison is also with you in the days when you are misunderstood. The one who shut the mouths of lions for Daniel can also cause the things threatening you to lose their power to rule. The one who called Mary by name outside the empty tomb also knows how to call your name in the mornings when you thought hope had died. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. As Hebrews 13:8 places a firm rock beneath your feet. Circumstances may change. Human hearts may change. Your plans may dissolve like morning mist. But my love does not change its voice, does not withdraw, and does not run dry because you are still weak. Therefore, when I begin to take from you certain things you once thought were necessary, Do not be quick to cling to them in panic. There are things that bring a pleasant feeling yet leave your soul withered. There are doors that appear bright but lead you into deeper darkness. There are connections that give you brief laughter but leave behind a long emptiness. I do not close doors to make you lack. I close doors to protect you from places whose consequences you cannot yet see. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. As Proverbs 14:12 warns you with mercy, I cut away what is wrong, not because I want you to suffer, but because I want what is right within you to live. My child, let me teach you to discern between true light and false glitter. Not everything that excites you comes from life. Not everything that is easy is grace. Not every applause is confirmation from heaven. There are gifts wrapped in trials, and there are traps covered with sweetness. Therefore, you need to stay nearer to me, not occasionally, not only when you break down, but as the branch remains in the vine. Test all things. Hold fast what is good, as 1 Thessalonians 5:21 reminds you. Because spiritual wisdom does not come from suspecting everything, but from bringing everything into my light to be examined. Now, I do not ask you to understand everything I am doing. I only invite you to open your heart enough for my light to enter. Let me search the motives still mixed with fear, the desires still mingled with pride, the places you call peace, when in truth they are only numbness. David prayed, "Search me, O God, and know my heart." As Psalm 139:23 says, not because he had no darkness, but because he trusted that my hand could lead him in the everlasting way. You also may pray the same. With a true heart, I will not make you blind. I will teach you to see. I will not take life away from you. I will uproot what has been pretending to be life. And when the eyes of your soul become bright again, you will understand that everything I keep, everything I take away, every door I open, and every door I close, all come from a holy love, deeper than your fear and stronger than every darkness trying to call your name. My beloved child, hear me with the deepest part of your soul. The final call is not a door closing before you, but a door opening toward a life filled with light. What I am doing is not meant to draw you into fear, nor to place upon you the heavy garment of regret. I am lifting your eyes from the dust so that you may see that grace is not merely a passing moment, but a river flowing from eternity. When you walk with eyes that I have washed clean, you will no longer see every upheaval as a sign of failure, but as an invitation to step into wholeness. The light of the righteous shines brightly, as Proverbs 13:9 reminds you, because the light I placed within you was not given so that you would hide it in fear, but so that you would carry it into places that are still cold, still dark, and still asleep in deception. There is a time when I draw back the curtain, not to shock you, but to free you from the things that have hidden too long beneath the garment of false kindness. What has been woven with sweet words but lacks truth will not be able to stand when my light shines through it. Intentions hidden behind gentle smiles, conversations buried in darkness, schemes covered with an appearance of kindness, all of them will one day have to appear before the one who sees through the human heart. Jesus said that nothing is covered up that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. As Luke dos declares, and that word does not come so that you may live in suspicion, but so that you may rest in knowing that truth is never buried forever. You do not need to dig anxiously by yourself. I know when to reveal, how much to reveal, and what I am revealing it to save you from. Remember Esther, who thought she was only a young woman standing in a foreign palace. Yet in truth, I had placed her in the right position for a decisive hour. Haman built his scheme in the darkness, using power and words to prepare the destruction of my people. While Mordecai was pushed into danger that seemed impossible to escape, but when my appointed time came, what had been hidden was brought into the light. The gallows that the wicked man had built for the righteous became evidence against himself. Esther did not fight with impulsive anger, but with vigilance, fasting, courage, and right timing. Do you see? I can turn an entire palace, an entire decree, a banquet, and even the words of a king in order to protect those who belong to me. Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this, as Esther 4:14 echoes to you today, so that you may understand that you also have not entered this season without meaning. Therefore, do not panic when your intuition begins to grow clearer, when small signs suddenly come together into a picture you did not understand before. There are nights when your heart feels unsettled and you do not know why. There are dreams that cause you to wake with a heaviness inside. There are encounters that make your soul grow still, even though people's lips are still speaking gentle words. I do not want you to live by suspicion, but neither do I want you to be blind to deception. Watch and pray. As Matthew 26:41 says, is not a call into tension, but a teaching that you should remain close enough to me to discern. True watchfulness does not make your heart hard, it makes your heart brighter. It does not cause you to hate others. It keeps you from handing your soul over to things that do not belong to me. I know you have wondered whether you were imagining too much, whether the feeling in your heart was only an old fear speaking again. But my child, when a soul that belongs to me is awakened, it begins to recognize the vibrations that were once covered by noise. I have touched your heart gently many times, not to confuse you, but to prepare you. Heaven is not silent before the schemes that seek to lead you astray. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. As Psalm 32:8 reveals, means that I do not stand far away watching you struggle on your own. I guide through my word, through peace, through inner warning, through doors that close at the right time, and sometimes even through holy unrest that keeps you from continuing into a dangerous place. But hear me carefully, this exposure is not given so that you may live in bitterness. I do not open your eyes so that you may nurture revenge, nor do I lead you out of deception so that you may build a home in resentment. I expose in order to heal. I separate you from what is wrong so that you can stand in what is right. I show you the true face of certain things, not so that you will collapse, but so that you will stop tying your destiny to them. Do not avenge yourselves, but leave room for the wrath of God, as Romans 12:19 reminds you, because justice belongs to me, while your part is to keep your heart pure. Step out of the chains, and not allow pain to turn you into the image of what wounded you. Those who once made you cry may have unknowingly pushed you nearer to me. The lies that once hurt you may become the reason you love truth more deeply. The doors that closed before you may be the way I kept you from entering a room where darkness was waiting. You called some things loss, but I call them deliverance. You called some breakings an ending, but I call them a new foundation. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted. As Psalm 18 stands in the middle of your story, like a hand resting on your shoulder, reminding you that no tear falling in the night is meaningless to me. I saw every time you cried in silence, every breath you swallowed back into your heart, every prayer that did not become a sentence but became tears before me. Now, let your heart be lifted up, not by pride, but by the holy assurance that I am acting on your behalf. You do not need to run around explaining to everyone what I am revealing. You do not need to fight with noise in order to prove that you are right. Stand in the light, and the light will bear witness for itself. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. As Exodus 14:14 declared before the Red Sea, and that word still carries power for you today. There are victories that do not come from you speaking more, but from you trusting more deeply. There are truths you do not need to force into the open, because in due season, I myself will bring them out of the darkness. So, keep walking, my beloved child, with the feet of faith and a heart no longer bound by deception. The bell you are hearing is not the sound of the end, but the sound of the beginning of a life that knows how to discern, how to love in truth, and how to stand firm without becoming hard-hearted. When the day of revealing comes, do not tremble. Smile in peace, because you have been prepared by me. Carry light into dark places, but do not allow darkness to pull you down into its language. Become a gentle reminder to the souls still asleep that my love is still calling, my justice is still alive, and my truth still triumphs. Your tears have not been lost. They have become seeds in the field of restoration. And my harvest, my child, will come at the appointed time. My beloved child, when you sense familiar things beginning to leave your life, do not be quick to call it loss. There are doors that close not because I have forgotten you, but because I am protecting you from rooms that no longer belong to the new season. There are people who quietly step away not because you have been abandoned, but because the light I am growing within you leaves no place for what is false to hide. The things that can be shaken will be removed, so that the things that cannot be shaken may remain. As Hebrews 12:27 reminds you, because shaking is not always disaster. Sometimes it is heaven's way of separating the temporary from the eternal. I am cleansing the foundation beneath your feet, so that the place where you are about to stand will no longer be built on fear, unhealthy dependence, or promises that carry no truth within them. Therefore, when the old season falls away like dry leaves before the wind, do not bend down to gather every piece again. Some things are beautiful only while they remain in their proper season. If you try to keep them after I have already sent the wind of change, they will become a burden in your hands. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? As Isaiah 43:19 speaks to you, not as a decorative phrase, but as a call to move forward. I do not lead you into empty space so that you will be confused, but so that you will have room to receive what is pure. I do not take from you what truly belongs to you. I only remove from your soul the things whose assignment has ended, the things that once covered your eyes, the things that, if they remained, would pull you away from the position I have prepared. Remember Nehemiah when he returned to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. The city was in ruins. The gates had been burned. The people were weary, and the opposers mocked, threatened, and spread lies to make him lose heart. But Nehemiah did not abandon the holy work because of the noise outside. He prayed, he kept watch, and he rebuilt each section of the wall with faithfulness. When the enemy invited him down to the plain of Ono to distract him, he answered that he was doing a great work and could not come down. Do you see? There are invitations that may look ordinary but are actually sent to pull you away from what I am rebuilding. In this new season, you must also learn to say no to the places that drain your light, and learn to remain with the work I am building within your soul. I know your heart still trembles at times when you see old connections dissolving, faces that were once close becoming unfamiliar, and words that were once sweet suddenly revealing the emptiness within them. But my child, truth does not need you to shout in order to prove that it is true. Light does not argue with darkness. Light simply becomes present, and darkness must retreat. You are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's own special people. that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. As 1 Peter 2:9 places upon you a new identity. You are no longer imprisoned by what others have said, nor are you a captive of old misunderstandings. You belong to the light, and that light is reshaping the way you walk. Do not fear my rearranging, even when at first it seems as though everything has been overturned. The gardener must prune the branches so the tree may bear more fruit. The builder must clear away the rubble before laying a firm foundation. I am doing the same within you. I am rebuilding the deepest place of your life with a faith that is not swept away by circumstances, with trust that does not depend on passing emotions, and with love that does not allow pain to become bitterness. Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. As Psalm 127:1 reminds you, because what I build will endure longer than what you try to hold together by your own strength. Let me choose the materials. Let me lay the foundation again. Let me take down the walls you built out of fear, and build within you a dwelling place of peace. The hour of my justice is not like the way human beings demand fairness through noise, conflict, and retaliation. My justice moves with holiness, with right timing, right measure, and right purpose. When you pray with a sincere heart, heaven does not ignore you. When you stand firm in the truth, you do not stand alone. When you forgive, you are not minimizing anyone's wrongdoing. You are removing the chains from your own soul, so you no longer remain pulled by what once wounded you. Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free," in John 8:32. And that freedom is not only freedom from others, but also freedom from fear, from the need to keep explaining yourself, and from the feeling that you must return to the place from which I have delivered you. Therefore, lift up your head, beloved child, not in pride, but in the assurance that I am walking with you. Dawn does not ask the night for permission before it rises. It simply comes at its appointed time. You have passed through long stretches of darkness, cried tears no one saw, and learned to walk in silence while your heart was still full of questions. But now, I am opening another path before you. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. As Psalm 5 is becoming a new breath over your life. Do not go back to dig through the ashes in search of life. What was not true has already burned away. What I have preserved within you is the seed of the future. Walk on as one who has been called by name in the light. Each step you take from now on is no longer the step of a soul groping through blindness, but the step of one who is led by me, protected by me, and restored by me to the right place in my eternal plan. Sing, not because everything has become easy, but because I am still faithful. Believe, not because you can see the whole road, but because you know whose hand is holding you. Love, but love in truth. Forgive, but do not return to chains. Shine, but do not become proud, because that light belongs to me. The new season does not begin when you have every answer. It begins when you stop looking back at the darkness and set your heart on the one who is saying, I am with you. I am rebuilding you, and what I have begun in you will not be silenced by any darkness. My beloved child, do not bow your head simply because you feel small in the face of things that seem too great. I do not measure a soul by how loudly it echoes before the eyes of the world, nor do I call someone because they are already strong enough to stand without needing me. I often choose earthen vessels to carry the treasure of heaven, so that when the light bursts forth, everyone will know that such power does not come from the earth, but from me. My power is made perfect in weakness. As 2 Coríntios 12:9 declares. And that word is anointing oil upon the parts of yourself you once felt ashamed of. Your limitations do not confuse me. Your trembling does not make me change my mind. Your lack of understanding cannot stop the wisdom by which I lead you. What I seek in you is not an invincible appearance, but a heart that knows how to say, Father, I am not enough, but I believe you are enough. There are seasons when I allow you to pass through quiet places, not because I want you to be forgotten, but because only in that silence can you hear what the noise once covered. You thought you were being set aside, but in truth, I was placing you in a hidden furnace of refinement. You thought no one saw those silent years, but heaven recorded every time you still chose to believe when there was no clear sign. Every time you still prayed, though the answer had not yet come. Every time you rose again, after your heart had grown weary to the very bottom. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted, as Psalm 34:18 reminds you, because the place where you thought you had been abandoned may be the very place where I draw nearest. I never waste your tears. I gather even the sighs that never became words. The nights when you collapsed in silence. The failures that made you think you no longer had value. And I use them as soft soil in which to plant the seeds of maturity. Remember Jeremiah, the young man who once trembled before my calling and said that he was too young and did not know how to speak. But I said to him, do not say, I am only a youth, for you shall go to all to whom I send you. As Jeremiah 7 declares. Do you see? I did not wait for Jeremiah to become confident before I called him. I called him first, and then I placed my words in his mouth. I do not need you to step into your calling with the pride of someone who thinks they are ready. I want you to step into it with the holy dependence of one who knows they need me in every breath. Because when you no longer rely on yourself, you will no longer be limited by yourself. When you stop trying to prove yourself, I can begin to reveal myself. Do not regard the times when you are stripped of what is familiar as evidence that I am against you. There are things that must leave your hands so your heart can recognize they were never the true foundation. There are supports that must be taken away so you may know that I, alone, am the rock that cannot be shaken. There are lonely spaces that are not punishment, but hidden rooms where I teach you deeper communion with me. When every voice falls away, you will learn to distinguish mine. When every fragile support collapses, you will understand what it means to be upheld by everlasting arms. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. As Exodus 14:14 says, is not only a word spoken at the edge of the Red Sea, but also a word I place into the days when you no longer have the strength to open a way for yourself. You have often asked within your heart why you have had to pass through such a long season of preparation, why others seem to move forward more quickly while you keep being held in seasons of learning old lessons again. But, my child, what grows deeply often does not grow loudly. Roots do not applaud when they sink into the soil, but those hidden roots are what keep the tree standing in the storm. I do not rush to bring you before great winds when the inside of you has not yet been anchored in me. I do not place a crown upon a soul that has not learned to bow. I do not entrust a mission to a heart still governed by temporary things. One who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much. As Luke 16:10 reminds you, because ordinary days are not meaningless. Your faithfulness in the place where no one sees is preparing you for the place where many will need to see me through you. Moses learned humility in the wilderness before he held the staff and stood before Pharaoh. Joseph learned forgiveness in the prison before he was lifted up to save many peoples from famine. David learned to take refuge in me in the cave before he ruled upon the throne. And my beloved only begotten Son also lived quietly for many years in Nazareth before stepping into public ministry, so that you would understand that hiddenness is not waste in the plan of heaven. There is no season I allow that I cannot redeem. There is no road so dark that my light cannot enter it. There is no wound that, when placed in my hands, cannot become a place where mercy flows out to others. Therefore, when trials come, do not be quick to call them rejection. When a door closes, do not be quick to say that I have forgotten. When you stand alone, do not think I am far away. I am using those very places to strengthen your faith, not through the hardness of the flesh, but through the endurance of a soul that has learned to lean on me. The testing of your faith produces steadfastness. As James 1:3 says, and that steadfastness is not blind resignation, but holy strength that knows how to stand firm, even when the eyes have not yet seen the whole road. One day, you will look back and realize that the years which seemed delayed were the holy workshop where I sharpened your heart, softened what was hard, cleansed what was mixed with impurity, and placed within you a wisdom that cannot be purchased by quick success. Beloved child, I have not called you to become a copy of someone else. I have not placed within you the same rhythm, the same road, or the same garment as everyone around you. Do not let the achievements of others make you despise the process I am working within you. What I am preparing for you requires the right timing, the right depth, and the right heart. If you remain in my hands, I will turn even weakness into a dwelling place for power, tears into streams of watering, failure into lessons of humility, and loneliness into a room of encounter. Stand up when I call, even if you are still trembling. Step forward when I open the way, even if you cannot yet see everything. Believe that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. As Philippians 1:6 reminds you, because I do not begin a holy work within you, only to abandon it halfway. You belong to me, are refined by me, are kept by me, and in the proper season, what I have placed within you will bloom like light after a long night. My beloved child, I have not called you to become great according to the fleeting measure of the world, where people weigh worth by applause, by position, by numbers, and by the admiring eyes of the crowd. I have called you to become faithful to what I placed within your soul before you understood yourself. There are people who run very fast but do not know where they are going. There are people who stand in high places yet are empty within. There are people whose names are spoken by many, yet they cannot hear my voice calling in the hidden place. My child, I am not looking for a flawless vessel without cracks. I am looking for a heart willing to open, willing to listen, willing to let me shape it in my hands. To obey is better than sacrifice. As 1 Samuel 15:22 declares, because what moves heaven is not your radiant outward appearance, but the moment when you quietly say to me, Father, let your will be done. I know there are still trembling places within you. There is the fear that you will fail, the fear that others will turn away, the fear that you are not strong enough, not wise enough, not worthy enough for what I am calling you to step into. But hear me gently. Fear may knock at the door, but it is not allowed to sit on the throne of your heart. If you keep staring at what makes you tremble, it will grow larger until it hides me from your sight. But when you look to me, the mountains within your heart will begin to shrink, because you remember that the one who goes before you is also the one who covers you from behind. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. As 2 Timothy 1:7 reminds you, because true courage does not come from having nothing left to fear, but from knowing whose you are in the midst of everything frightening. Remember Abraham, the one I called to leave his homeland, his father's house, and the familiar land, to go to the place I would show him. He was not given the entire map in advance. He did not know all the turns, did not know all the years of waiting, did not know how many trials the promise of descendants would pass through. before it blossomed into reality. But by faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out, not knowing where he was going. As Hebrews 11:8 testifies, do you see? Faith is not always seeing the whole road before taking a step. Faith is recognizing that my voice is trustworthy enough for you to place your foot down for the next step. I do not demand that you understand all of my plan. I invite you to trust that the one who writes that plan is the Father who loves you with an unchanging love. The world around you may become louder, more confused, and more able to make many souls forget the stillness of heaven. But it is precisely in the thickest nights that light is seen most clearly. I did not place the lamp within you so that you would hide it beneath layers of shame or beneath the worry that you are not bright enough yet. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." As Matthew 5:14 declares, that light is not something you create by your own strength. It is my life within you, my mercy through you, my truth shining through the places where you once thought there was only weakness. Therefore, do not wait until you feel perfect before you stand up. Stand up because I am with you. Do not wait until every doubt disappears before you obey. Obey, and along the way, you will see your faith strengthened step by step. There are times when I illuminate only a short stretch before you, not because I want to hide good things from you, but because I am teaching you to hold my hand instead of holding the map. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. As Proverbs 3:5-6 lays the foundation for each step you take. Trust is not being able to control every outcome. Trust is saying, "Father, I do not see everything, but you see. I do not understand everything, but you are wise. I cannot hold everything together, but you are holding me." When you surrender in this way, your soul opens to the guidance of heaven. When you stop fighting to remain in control, peace begins to rule where anxiety once lived. I do not send you out and then stand far away watching you struggle alone. When I call, I go with you. When I speak, my word carries within it the power to accomplish what I have appointed. When I promise, time does not weaken that promise. You may pass through deep waters, but the waters have no authority to drown what I am holding. You may walk through the fire of testing, but the fire has no authority to burn away the covenant I have placed upon you. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned. As Isaiah 43:2 stands as a guarantee over your journey. My protection does not always mean that you will never face trials. It means that trials are not allowed to define your ending. The seeds I planted in you long ago may have lain still beneath the soil through many seasons, but the silence of a seed is not death. Beneath the dark soil, roots are finding their way. Beneath ordinary days, I am working. Every small prayer you thought insignificant, every unseen choice of obedience, every time you forgave though your heart still hurt, every time you rose again after stumbling, all of it is like water falling upon what I am preparing. Do not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. As Galatians 6:9 encourages you to be patient with my process. The harvest does not come because you are impatient. It comes when what I have sown has matured in the Father's appointed time. Therefore, do not compare your path with another person's. Some are called to step out early, while others are held longer in the place of preparation. Some bloom like the first flowers of the season, while others grow like deeply rooted trees that take many years before spreading wide branches. But I am not mistaken in the way I lead each of my children. I do not measure you by the speed of the person beside you, nor do I lessen your value because your journey is quieter. What I treasure is endurance, faithfulness in small things, and a love that does not grow cold when no one has yet seen the fruit. Look at all things through my light, and you will understand that fame is not the greatest reward. Being in the center of my will is true wealth. Beloved child, keep walking with a trust that is tender yet steadfast. Say yes, not as one who is being forced, but as one who knows that their Father is trustworthy. Let my light within you shine outward, not loudly, not proudly, but purely and enduringly. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. As Philippians 1:6 has promised, I did not call you in order to abandon you halfway. I did not plant the seed in order to forget the harvest. I did not place light within you so that darkness could swallow it. Rise up, my child, for I go before you. I am with you, and I will cause what I have spoken over your life to take shape in the beautiful timing of heaven. My beloved child, there comes a moment in the journey of faith when you cannot remain forever in the familiar room simply because there is less wind there. I healed you not so that you would lie forever beside the memory of the wound, but so that you would stand up as one restored by grace. I wiped away your tears, not so that you would return to living like someone who only knows how to avoid pain, but so that your eyes would become bright and see the path I am opening ahead. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Las Joshua 1:9 declares is not only a word for a leader of old, but the breath I am placing in your heart today. The place of safety may give you a sense of calm, but it is not always the place where life grows. There are miracles that only bloom after you place your foot in the water. There are doors that only open when you draw near. There are words I have placed within you that only become alive when you open your mouth in faith. I do not call you to step out because you have stopped trembling. I call you because I am with you in the midst of that trembling. Do not wait until the day you feel strong enough before you obey, because true strength does not begin with your self-confidence, but with my presence within you. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness, as 2 Corinthians 12:9 reminds you. Because the part you once saw as limitation can become the very place where my power is revealed. You are no longer a soul defined by what wounded you. You are one called out of darkness, clothed with light, and placed into a moment that heaven knew beforehand. Let the past remain in its proper place, not as the throne that rules you, but as the testimony showing how far I have brought you. Remember Isaiah in the temple, when he saw the Lord seated upon a high and exalted throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple, while the seraphim cried out, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. Before that holiness, Isaiah did not boast that he was ready. He recognized that his lips were unclean and that his heart needed to be purified. But I did not leave him lying forever in the feeling of unworthiness. A coal from the altar touched his lips, and then the call sounded, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Then Isaiah answered, Here I am, send me. As Isaiah 6:8 records. Do you see? A mission does not begin with the perfection of the one being sent, but with my cleansing and the yes of a heart willing to open. I can touch your lips, touch your memories, touch your fears, so that from the very place that once trembled, words of life may rise. Therefore, do not despise the voice I have placed within you. This world has too many sounds, yet lacks truthful words. It has too much noise, yet lacks light. It has too many arguments, yet lacks love with the power to heal. I do not tell you to speak so that you may win every debate, but so that you may bear witness to life through a soul that has been saved. As the Father has sent me, I also send you, as John 20:21 says, is not a burden placed upon your shoulders, but a commission covered with peace. When you speak, speak from the place I have softened. When you love, love not by human strength that quickly runs dry, but by the stream of love you have received from me. When you pray, do not see it as a weak whisper in a small room. Sincere prayer can open a way where your eyes cannot yet see, because the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. As James 5:16 declares, I know the future may make you hesitant, because you cannot see everything that lies ahead. But, beloved child, I do not ask you to control the future. I invite you to trust the one who holds it. The lamp I give does not always illuminate miles of road, but it gives enough light for the next step. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. As Psalm 119:105 will guide you one stretch at a time, so that you may learn to lean on me instead of leaning on your own certainty. When you do not know where to go, I will show the way. When you stumble, I will lift you up. When you are weak, I will give you strength. When you rejoice, I will also be there in that joy, because my love is not only present in your tears, but also in the song of your restoration. Do not forget that every day you are still breathing is a day in which grace is still giving you the opportunity to live with purpose. You were not placed in this age by accident. I know the darkness of this time, but I also know the light I have sown in those who belong to me. You do not need to imitate the noise of the world in order to have influence. A pure life, a word spoken at the right time, a quiet act of love, a faithful prayer in the hidden place can become a sign of heaven among souls that have lost their way. You are the light of the world. As Matthew 5:14 says, does not mean that you must make yourself dazzling, but that you must not allow my light within you to be covered by shame, fear, or delay. Now, rise in tenderness without becoming weak, in humility without stepping back. Keep your ears more sensitive to my voice than to the voice of the crowd. Keep your eyes lifted upward rather than being pulled down by circumstances. Keep your heart soft so that love may still flow through you without being blocked by bitterness. I do not send you out and then abandon you halfway. Jesus promised, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. As Matthew 28:20 declares, and that word is the mantle, covering you wherever you are sent. Step out, my child, not as one confident in your own strength, but as one who knows you are upheld by heaven, not as one trying to prove yourself, but as one carrying the message of life. When you obey, the seeds I have sown within you will begin to sprout. When you love, darkness will lose its power over your heart. When you pray, the doors of heaven will open in the way I have appointed, and through your life, I will show many people that I am still God, the one who heals, the one who sends, the one who walks with you, and the one who completes everything he has begun. My beloved child, lay down the things you have tried to carry for too long on your weary shoulders. Release from your hands the invisible scales you have used to measure yourself against others, the expectations that have dried out your soul, the questions that have kept you awake in the night while still giving you no answer. I do not call you into rest as though calling you into emptiness. I call you into the deepest place of trust, where you know that even though your eyes have not yet seen, my hand is still at work. Be still and know that I am God. As Psalm 46:10 declares, not so that you may become passive, but so that you may stop allowing anxiety to rule your breath. There are things I am arranging behind the curtain, connections I am quietly joining together, doors I am preparing to open at the exact hour I have appointed. You do not need to use your strength to force the season to arrive early. You only need to remain deeply enough in me so that when the season comes, your heart is no longer ruled by fear. I know the days of waiting have not been easy for you. There were mornings when you woke with a small hope, and then by nightfall felt your heart being drawn back into the same silence. There were prayers you repeated so many times that you yourself wondered whether heaven was still listening. But my child, what looks like delay in your eyes is not forgetfulness in mine. The vision is yet for the appointed time. It hastens toward the end and will not lie, though it delays. Wait for it will surely come. As Habakkuk 2, Trey reminds you, because my word does not perish simply because time stretches long. What I have promised does not grow weak in the darkness. A seed beneath the ground is not dead simply because you have not yet seen a green shoot. I am nurturing it in the hidden place, so that when it rises, it will not only be beautiful for a moment, but will have roots deep enough to stand through storms. Do not see the rough roads you have walked as a sign that you have been left behind. I saw every time your heart was struck, every time you had to learn to keep loving, even though love had once wounded you. Every time you wanted to close yourself off, but still chose to let a ray of light enter. Those things are not wasted by me. I use even the wounds placed in my hands to make you more tender toward those who are broken. The God of all comfort comforts us in all our affliction, so that we may be able to comfort others. As 2 Corinthians 1, 3-4 reveals, because true comfort is not only heard by the ears, but carried through a heart that has tasted pain and been healed by me. I did not let you pass through the valley to humiliate you. I led you through it to teach you how to bow low without losing dignity, to remain tender without becoming weak, and to grow deep without becoming bitter. Remember Simeon in the temple, the man who waited for the consolation of Israel through long days without knowing the exact hour when the promise would appear before his eyes. He did not live by the haste of the crowd, but by the quiet guidance of the Holy Spirit. Then, on the appointed day, when Mary and Joseph brought the child Jesus into the temple, those aged arms held the Savior whom generations had long awaited. He spoke in peace, saying that his eyes had seen the salvation of God. As Luke 2:30 records, do you see? There are long seasons of waiting that do not end in emptiness, but end with you touching what I had prepared beforehand. Simeon did not leave his position simply because the promise did not come immediately. And you, too, must not leave the place where I have set you simply because time tests your heart longer than you expected. Now, I want you to understand that the hidden season does not continue in order to bury you forever. There are things I have hidden within you, not so that they would remain still eternally, but so that they would mature in silence before being revealed in the light. There are holy desires you once thought were too far away, callings you once thought were only passing emotions, visions I placed within your heart that made you both hopeful and afraid. I have not forgotten them. Do not despise the day of small things. As Zechariah 4:10 reminds you, because what begins quietly in my hands can become a work through which many will recognize my glory. You do not need to make yourself stand out by your own strength. When my hour comes, what is true will carry its own light. When I open a door, no opposing voice can lock what I have spoken open. You once asked why I looked upon you when around you there seemed to be people who were more capable, stronger, and more beautifully prepared in human eyes. But beloved child, I do not choose as the world chooses. I am not captivated by outward appearance, by talent that has not been sanctified, or by strength that has not learned to kneel. The Lord does not see as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. As 1 Samuel 16:7 declared, when David was still a shepherd boy forgotten in the fields, I see what is hidden deep within you, the honesty you keep when no one praises you, the longing to do what is right even when no one knows, the small but enduring faithfulness in days when there is no visible sign to encourage you. These things are more precious before me than every brilliance that lacks surrender. Therefore, do not be afraid if you are still trembling when the door begins to open. Trembling does not mean you have not been called. It only reminds you that you need to walk with me. When I entrust something to you, I also give the grace for you to carry it. When I send you somewhere, my presence goes before you to prepare the way and comes behind you to keep you, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit. As Zechariah 4:6 places peace into your hands. You do not need to know the whole route in order to begin the first step. You do not need to have every answer in order to obey today. You only need to trust that the one who calls you is faithful, and that this faithful one never places you on a path only to abandon you at a crossroads. Rest in me, my child, but rest as one being strengthened for a season of sending, not as one hiding from life. Let rest heal the rhythm of your breathing, soften your heart again, and brighten your eyes again. When the time comes to step out, you will not walk under the pressure of proving that you are worthy, but with the peace of one who knows they are loved. I am your fullness before you see the result, your refuge before the door opens, your source of strength before the mission asks of you something greater than your own power. Do not be afraid, for I am here. Do not be impatient, for I am not delayed. Do not compare, for your path is in my hands. What I have begun in you will be completed by me in beauty at the proper time. And when you look back, you will see that even the days that seemed most silent were filled by me with preparation, grace, and unchanging love. My beloved child, there are things you once called brokenness, but in my hands they are holy release. You looked at a door closing and thought you had been rejected, but I saw that behind that door was a path that could have led your soul far away from my will. You looked at someone leaving and felt the emptiness like a cut, but I knew that if they had stayed longer, the light within you would have been pulled down by things that were not true. You looked at seasons of change and thought your life was losing its shape. But my child, the potter does not ruin the clay when he needs it. He is preparing it for its proper form. The Lord will perfect that which concerns me, as Psalm 138:8 reminds you. Because what I begin is not destroyed by closures. Sometimes those very closures are the way I keep my work from being mixed with what does not belong. From the moment the breath of life touched you, I placed within you a mark deeper than every name the world has given you. Before you knew who you were, I knew what I had sown within your soul. Before circumstances taught you fear, I called you with a calling that does not depend on bloodline, past, status, or the limitations others placed upon you. There were nights when you felt your heart moving strangely, as though an underground stream were flowing beneath dry soil. You did not know what to call it. You only knew that something within you still longed for what was deeper, truer, and pure. That was my voice. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. As Jeremiah 1:5 declares, not so that you would become proud, but so that you would understand that your life did not begin by accident, and your calling does not end because of what wounded you. There are seeds I planted within you that have lain still for so long that you thought they had died. But, beloved child, a seed is not dead simply because it has not yet sprouted before your eyes. It may be covered, softened by tears, nourished by prayers you thought were too small for heaven to hear. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone, but if it dies, it bears much fruit. As John 12:24 reveals, because there are forms of life that are born only after a season of being buried. The days when you felt lost are not meaningless. The times when you quietly spoke to me in the night were not overlooked. The wounds that have been touched by grace will no longer be only sorrowful memories. They will become places where my mercy flows through you to strengthen others. Remember Ruth, the woman who left Moab after losses that seemed to close her entire future. She lost her husband, lost stability, lost the familiar place. And before her, there seemed to be only a poor and uncertain road beside Naomi. But in that faithful decision, she spoke a word that rose like fragrance before heaven. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. As Ruth 1:16 declares, she did not know that her quiet steps, gleaning grain in the field, would lead her into a plan greater than her own life. She did not know that Boaz would become her redeemer, that David would come from her line, and that from that line, the Savior would come. Do you see? I can use a season of loss to open a stream of grace that your eyes are not yet able to see today. Therefore, do not despise the changes that are confusing you. When a work leaves your hands, I may be opening for you a path closer to your true calling. When a plan dissolves, I may be saving you from building a house on sand. When a relationship can no longer be held together, I may be clearing space for people who can walk with you in truth, peace, and reverence for me. All things work together for good for those who love God. As Romans 8:28 declares, does not mean that everything you go through is pleasant, but that nothing is beyond my redeeming power. I can take ashes and turn them into fertile soil. I can take a closing and turn it into a threshold. I can take tears and water a field you have not yet seen. Now I am calling you to step into revelation. But you must understand this. It is not a stage for your ego, but a place where my glory is seen through a soul that has learned dependence. I do not bring you out of the hidden place so that you may display your own strength, because you know well that it was I who carried you through the nights you thought you would not survive. I do not place words within you so that you may win arguments through noise, but so that you may speak hope to those who are forgetting that light still remains. We have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the surpassing power belongs to God. As 2 Corinthians 4:7 reminds you, because weakness offered up to me becomes the place where my power comes to rest. When you open your mouth in obedience, I will cause your words to carry the breath of healing. When you stretch out your hands in love, I will make that small act a sign of heaven. Do not wait until everyone understands you before you begin to walk. The world does not always recognize what I am doing in a chosen life. Some people will see only that you are ordinary, but I see the mark I have placed within you. Some people will remember only that you once fell, but I see that you have learned to stand again by grace. Some people cannot hear the calling within you, but heaven hears clearly every heartbeat that is answering me. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. As Psalm 119:105 declares, and it will not always illuminate the entire journey at once, but it will be enough for the next step. You only need to be faithful with the step I am placing before you today. So let your heart become still, because that calling has never gone silent. It has only waited for you to become quiet enough to hear it. Feed the small flame within you with faith, with prayer, with obedience in hidden things. Do not look back too long at the places I have closed, because ahead of you there is a road I am opening. Do not fear the empty spaces, because I can fill them with my presence. Do not fear that you are not enough, because the one who calls you is also the one who equips you. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. As Philippians 1:6 is the word I place over your journey. Walk on, beloved child. I go before you to open the way, beside you to uphold you, and behind you to keep you. What I have sown within you will sprout in its proper season. And when that light rises, many people will not only see you restored, they will see that I am the faithful God in your life.